Hotel Sierra, W7 question mark, Hotel Sierra, SM60D for you.
For those of you who don't know Meshtastic, Mike and I talked about this presentation, and I've been to one of these presentations at, I think it was in Chattahoochee, anyway, it was in the bits, and you couldn't tell, you couldn't get far enough back from it to really understand what it was all about. And Mike's going to come at it the other way. So I think you'll get a pretty good idea. And I was pleasantly surprised once I saw a little bit of what the strategy was behind it and what it's actually doing. So I think you'll like it. And are we ready to roll? Hello, Mike. Mike Cohen.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the meeting. I'll let you take over if you're ready to go.
Great. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, wonderful. It's just so good to be with you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that these meetings are on Google Meet. I rarely miss a meeting, even though I'm remote. So thanks for doing it, and I hope to keep staying with you. For me to present, my low-grade PC doesn't like both the video and the presentation. So I'm going to stop the video and share my screen, if you forgive me for doing that. And I'm going to move over here. And now let me just do a share entire screen. And I want to do this one and share. Okay, hopefully, can you see my presentation? Let me just do show my screen anyways. Okay, so are you okay with that? I'm not hearing anybody. Is it okay? Can somebody give me a signal of some sort?
Thumbs up.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Okay. All right. So if you can hear me, I'll go on. And if not, hopefully somebody can let me know that they can hear me. So this presentation is a little different from the others you'll see, because we're not talking about Meshtastic as the newest, greatest mode. We're talking about Meshtastic as a mode and ham radio to work together as a team. And we would have the M for Meshtastic, and when all else fails, then amateur radio is going to team with it and help it along. Before I get started, there's a little bit of trivia, something I questioned a lot, and I know a lot of other people have asked. Where do they get these letters? This M is kind of weird looking, and the A, that's kind of weird looking, and the I is kind of weird looking. How do they do that? Well, this is the actual waveform for one of these signals. And if you look at it, does that look like the M? Does that look like the A? Does that look like the I? So we get the M, A, I. That's how they came up with the M, A, I in Meshtastic. So if you don't learn anything else tonight, maybe that's something you can put in your cap. There's a little bit of techie, and I'll try to keep the techie low. You're going to see or hear capital L-O, capital R-A a lot. It stands for long range, and US it's 900 megahertz transmission. And here's a quote of some heavy stuff. A LoRa signal is a low power, long range wireless communication signal that uses a proprietary spread spectrum modulation scheme called chirp spread spectrum, CSS, to transmit small amounts of data over large distances. Now, some of that's over my head. I can get into a lot more detail if you want, but I'll just have to make it up as I go along. Well, we'll stop there. When they say long range, they're really talking about long range for tenth of a watt nodes, typically less than a mile, with short antennas and sometimes more than 10 miles line of sight from mountaintop to mountaintop. But in perspective, these signals really are long range compared to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi when used for telemetry, not long range when compared to HF. Meshtastic users are not aiming to earn a DXCC. So the LoRa systems, the little modules, were really designed for things like on a farm. If you want to remotely know if a fence is open or closed, or give weather data and other things that were severely limited by Bluetooth or Wi-Fi for distance. And they came up with these little 900 megahertz units with a tenth of a watt. And relative to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, this truly is long range. So you're going to hear it a lot, but they're not competing with us. So tonight or this evening, we're going to talk about three different scenarios where ham radio and Meshtastic can work as a team. Area-wide, and for us, that would be all of North Fulton, within shelters, and within neighborhoods or subdivisions. I'm sure you can think of others, but we're going to cover those three. So what is it? And the red words are the important ones we'll get back to. It's an open source, off-grid, decentralized mesh network built to run on affordable, low-power devices. The pros are that it's off-grid. You don't need internet or cell phone service. You don't use it. And it can be used when all else fails, just like ham radio. It does not require a license or even registration like GMRS. The cons are a unit has a very limited range, about a mile, because of the low power, typically 1/10 of a watt. Legally, you can run these units up to 1 watt. The range can be extended with repeaters. They're called routers for Meshtastic. Many area-wide users are needed to create a mesh for it to be effective, though. And how does it work? The key word is mesh, and it enables a transceiver called the node to send or relay a text message, and this is limited to text only, no voice, no pictures, no files, text messages only, to any other adjacent, that's really a key word here, node in the mesh, up to a maximum of 7 relays. They call them hops. Most nodes use a cell phone as its display. So here's a picture of a node, and through Bluetooth, it's connected to a cell phone. And again, here's the logo for LoRa, so you'll see that a lot. LoRa is long range. So these nodes can go, everything is simplex, and it's digital text only. So it can go, an example, node to node, connected through Bluetooth to another cell phone. So somebody can type a message on this one, send it, it can go from here to here and go out. If they are not in range, this particular node could be on a mountaintop. So this node would go to here, and this hops it to here to the phone. This acts like a simplex digipeater, but each node has the ability to act like a simplex digipeater. So let's say this node wants to send a message to this node, and it's not in range, can't reach it directly, but it could go to this one, digipeat to this one, or hop, 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 and then the reverse could be true, and it may follow the same or a different path because of the mesh. So here we have 1 hop, 2 hops, 3 hops, 4 hops. That's less than the 7 hops, so there's no problem doing that. A big thanks and shout out goes to Jim W4IU for asking a question when I presented this to the Aries group. And he said, Mike, how do you get the text message information? Because I'm talking about relaying this through ham radio. How do you get the text information from your phone to, let's say, a computer with a ham radio program? And I really didn't have the answer for that when he asked it. Steve, KQ4EIQ, was also at the meeting, and he had the answer. I thought that laptops or desktops could only be used to program and set the parameters of a node, but in fact, it can connect either serial, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth, and as well as programming it, it can act as the interface just like a cell phone. So voila, if we've got the text on the screen, whether it's a laptop or a computer, we can have on that same screen the Meshtastic information and the ham radio information, and we can simply copy and paste. I have I've got a very poor typing skills, slightly dyslexic, and poor short-term memory. So the odds of copying information like names or email addresses from a cell phone screen and typing it into a computer gives me about 100% chance for error. But if I've got it on the same screen as the ham programs, I can copy and then paste. And if we have time, I'll try to give you a live demo of that a little later after the slides. Okay, so here's an example of where it works well. California Bay Area. That's an earthquake zone. The group is called Bay Area Mesh. People are very highly motivated to be able to have communications when all else fails, let's say with an earthquake. So lots and lots and lots and lots of people have the Meshtastic nodes. It's a great mesh. I wouldn't say it's 100% reliable, but there's a good chance that everybody within the Bay Area is able to communicate with each other using Meshtastic because of the digipeater. Each one can be a digipeater up to 7 hops. And if you've got the routers that are high, they can go the long distances. You can get very, very good coverage, very reliable coverage. All right, well, the examples of how ham radio operators can team up with Meshtastic users, even when a Meshtastic network is working well, like I'm showing here, it is still local only. It's still local only. So we're going to talk about area-wide, in our case, North Fulton, within shelters or stadiums, within neighborhoods and subdivisions. We'll get to those two in a few minutes. If one or more of those Meshtastic users in this area is also a ham, who has a ham radio station physically within the Meshtastic mesh, it can be used to relay messages outside of the mesh. Think about our SET, SET, Simulated Emergency Test, where we could send FL Digi messages from within the mesh, in this case, to a station that has WinLink capabilities, who could then use WinLink email to send health and welfare information outside to relatives and friends anywhere in the world. So the ham radio operators, by being in this mesh, can get messages, health and welfare, outside of the mesh area. That's where we come in. All right, well, how about locally? Our area would be all of North Fulton. A little later, I'll show you a map. Mountain Mesh is a group for North Georgia and East Tennessee. They've got a very clever name for the website. It's view.mountainmtnme.sh/map. So I'll give you a live demo at the end of the slides. And this is a almost real-time map showing you. So we've got that, and we could look at the North Fulton area, in this case, most of that area. All right, well, how about locally? So area-wide, all of North Fulton, and the answer is yes for Robert, AJ4RJ in Roswell, who is solid into Sweat Mountain. Their router is put together by BSRJ, the Big Shanty Repeater Group. They have a router on Sweat Mountain, and that means that he should be able to reliably exchange Meshtastic text messages throughout, key 2 words here, most of North Fulton. So Robert lives right here, and very close to him is Sweat Mountain, and they've got that node on top. This is a screenshot of Robert's phone, and right here, BSRG, these have a short name, 4 digits, 4 letters, and a long name, BSRG Sweat Mountain Router. Here's the 2 key words: signal good. Robert has a direct line, no hops. He can go directly to Sweat Mountain. And with this particular picture, I'll show you more details of that later, but all these orange lines are everywhere that Sweat Mountain can hit. So if Robert can hit Sweat Mountain, that's 1 hop, and then he can just be repeated out of Sweat Mountain. Sadly, for Mike, 84MC, there's nobody right here. So notice that none of the lines from Sweat Mountain are hitting Mike. So Mike's not doing so good, but Robert is doing great. One option is that we all move in with Robert, and then we can do all the Meshtastic communications that we want. I don't know if he's good for that or not. Okay, so another one is within shelters. Think hams. We like to use our radio toys just for fun. Meshtastic users do too, like at popular non-emergency activities such as large events. Examples are Dragon Con in a conference center or stadium sporting events. Attendees with these Meshtastic nodes can text to each other directly. So even in non-emergency situations, some of you may have already experienced this, cell networks are often overloaded by the large crowds. So Meshtastic users can still easily communicate with each other. Well, stadiums are often used as emergency shelters. Think Katrina Superdome. Meshtastic didn't exist back in 2005, but Meshtastic users would still be able to send text, again, text only, but text messages to each other in the stadium with no other infrastructure available. A ham station with a Meshtastic node in a stadium could receive and then relay messages to ham radio stations out of the mesh. Another prime example where we can work as a team. How about locally? We could do this today within shelters. You could think about the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Thousands of people might be in there in emergency, many of them with Meshtastic nodes. And if we have one, hopefully many ham radio operators, we could get the message outside of the stadium with our ham radios and relay messages for them. So another place where we could team up with them. And the third one I'm covering is neighborhoods and subdivisions. Your own neighborhood with just a few attic or rooftop nodes, everyone could send reliable messages. This is my subdivision. There's 79 homes in them. I'm not going to ask you to count them. Mine is on the southern end right here. And I have a node in my attic as well as one on my desk here. So even though this is a relatively small area, I can't reach everybody. So at least one or two other homes would need an attic or rooftop node, so then we could reliably get messages back and forth to each other. Non-emergency, emergency situation, whatever. Hey, Mike, you got any extra toilet paper? You know, messages like that. The big difference is that being a ham radio operator, if this were emergency, and if we lost cell phone and internet, we couldn't get messages outside. But as a ham radio operator, I could relay messages for all these families, or many of the families, to loved ones outside to let them know that they're okay. So ham radio can come to the rescue for non-licensed people using Meshtastic. So the three different scenarios where ham radio and Meshtastic can work together as a team would be area-wide, all of North Fulton in our case, within shelters, stadiums, places like that, or within neighborhoods or subdivisions. So this is how I got started. I went to Mr. Amazon and bought a 2-pack. This is a HealthTech brand, and these nodes, 70 bucks for two of them, so 35 bucks a piece for a size scale. This is a 2-inch antenna, so it's about 4 inches long. These are really quite small. If you do get involved with this, I do recommend you buy two. It's easy to buy two. A lot of them are sold that way, because that way, if you set up both and you can send messages to each other, you know you have everything set up properly. So if you can't even send to each other, you're not going to get into the whole mesh. These little antennas are really surprisingly good within a home, but not much further than that. If you want to get, outside of the house, you're going to need something better. So I went back to Mr. Amazon again. These are 7.5 inches long. They bend at right angles. So depending on the case you have, you can either leave them straight or bent over. They have the standard SMA connector to connect to the nodes. They come with a couple of small coax adapters. This is the connector that goes on the board, and that's the SMA. I didn't need those. And I put the second node in my attic rather than on my roof. I bought this antenna. It's about 18 inches long, claims 5 dB gain. It comes with a metal mounting bracket and some U-bolts. It also comes with this cable. It's really a dummy load. If you put 1/10 of a watt in, you're not going to get anything out. So that's really useless at 900 megahertz. So what I got, since this antenna has an N connector, I got an N to SMA adapter, and I mount my node right at the end of the antenna. They do have a battery inside, but they're powered with a USB-C device, 5 volts. And I have power in my attic, so I can just run a charging brick with a long USB cable, and I can power it. So this is mounted in the attic, no cables at all. It works. So what are the results with better antennas? The node with the high gain antenna, again, is in my attic. The other node is with me personally, either on my desk or on my person. And I could text messages from one of my nodes to the other. This proved that everything was set up correctly, but of no practical use. So what do I need to do? Well, what do we know about 900 megahertz radio antenna height to get the greatest distance? Spoiler alert, the answer is already there with a hint. Higher is better. Since Meshtastic is designed to relay or hop messages, it is common to have one node with you and another node mounted higher, in or above your home, to hop your message. Many people build or buy solar nodes. So here's an example of that. The big advantage is, unlike me, I have to transmit through my roof, which is substantial attenuation, and this is a lot higher typically. Disadvantage is this has to be totally waterproof, weatherproof, and if you have to do any maintenance or get to it, you got to get back on the roof. And I've promised my family that I won't do that anymore. So I can't do a rooftop antenna. I've got to hope that my attic antenna eventually will be good enough. And how to test a node with more height? You can use a drone. Remember, at 900 megahertz, higher is better. So this is my little drone, my V3. I got a different antenna. This is a 5-inch long antenna, and it's actually rubber duck, but it's actually a center-loaded dipole. I mean, a center-fed, not loaded, center-fed dipole. And the advantage of that is that it doesn't require a ground plane, and a drone does not make a good ground plane. So I figured I'd see what I could do if I rose this up. So I brought it up 50 feet, nothing, 100 feet, no, kept going higher and higher and higher. And I finally brought it up to 400 feet straight above my driveway. And this is Stone Mountain. So if you go 400 feet straight up from my driveway, you can see Stone Mountain. But I still can't reach it with that little node. So I need to get some good nodes in between Stone Mountain and me, or Sweat Mountain and me. I'm right between the two. Each one's about 13 miles away from me. So at the moment, even though I can see it at 400 feet, it doesn't work. So I've canceled my project to build a 400-foot tower. I'm just not going to do that. It wouldn't work anyways. Robert and I, AJ4RJ, and I both added the HealthTech V4 node. It's physically the same size as the V3. The board is the same size. It includes a LNA, low noise amplifier, which gives it a better receiver. It can transmit at 0.5 watt compared to the 1/10 of a watt for the V3 and most others. Every little bit helps. Robert has a 3D printer to make his own case. I went to Mr. Amazon to get this green case for myself. So in my case, for the 3 different scenarios where ham radio and Meshtastic can work as a team, to reliably use Meshtastic from my home in Sandy Springs on an area-wide basis, I'll need to wait until more good nodes near my home are set up. And/or set up in a shelter for direct communications, like a Red Cross shelter or stadium. We could do that today. That would be very effective to help them. And/or convince all or most of my neighbors to get set up. So those are 3 nodes where we can get the local, fairly reliable communications from Meshtastic to outside the local mesh for health and welfare information. I am hopeful for wide area coverage. Here's a comment from BSA to the Big Shanty Repeater Group. It's actively expanding the Meshtastic mesh network throughout Cobb County and the surrounding areas. We are strategically deploying 900 megahertz Meshtastic nodes on high elevation locations across North Georgia to close coverage gaps and contribute to a growing communication grid, one that operates independently of traditional power and communication systems. You don't have to worry about the next 2 sentences. I've been told that if you can get a high location and permission to use that high location, obviously you need that too, nodes will be provided. So the cost of a node or providing the node is not the issue. There are people that are in these groups that are willing to donate the nodes, solar powered, weatherproof nodes that are minimal maintenance, if we can get permission to put it at a good location. So I'm hoping somebody will do that near me. And just to muddy the waters, there's a new system called MeshCore. This is their logo. It's a little simpler than Meshtastic. It uses the same physical nodes as Meshtastic and just needs different firmware. So almost any Meshtastic node can be re-firmwared, if that's a word, to use the MeshCore system. There are many advantages and a few disadvantages over Meshtastic. I really like it, but there are fewer nodes at this time. So in my case, equally good at letting me text with myself. Not very exciting. All right, so Meshtastic and ham radio as a team, we can do that at local area nodes, Shelton nodes, neighborhood nodes, Meshtastic, and when all else fails, amateur radio. Okay, so that was the slide portion. This is the mountain mesh map. It's a live, this is live. And again, it's view mtnme.sh/map, if you can't see that. So these are nodes in our area. There's a lot of them. There's really a lot of nodes. Let me show you. Let me click on this. Let's see. There we go. That's AJ4RJ. That's Robert. He's right there. And right here, the big dot, that's Sweat Mountain. And the orange lines show everywhere the Sweat Mountain can hit. That's just about everywhere. So it can hit Robert and go a lot further. One node that it hits is right down here, and that's another router. And to simplify this a little bit, I can show just the routers. So this was Sweat Mountain, and if you can see all the places it can hit, and this one that it can hit, let me light that up. It's got a funny name. It's called Nano Newt, but that's Stone Mountain. And look at all the places Stone Mountain can reach out to, just about everywhere. And there's another one here. Let me move it up just a little bit. Okay, this one right here, that's Georgia Tech. And you can see Georgia Tech has a straight shot to Sweat Mountain. So if you're somebody like, let me take this off now, like Robert, if you can hit Sweat Mountain here, and Sweat Mountain can hit Stone Mountain, can hit Georgia Tech, you can get just about anywhere, except for places they can't hit anybody like me. Oh, one other one you may recognize this guy right here, K4RGK. That's our good Mr. Aris. So Daryl Young, K4RGK. He's got a node right here. So he's up here. So there's plenty of nodes. These little blinking shows live. They're actually transmitting at the moment. So they can go just about everywhere if you can hit a router. So if you're in a position to hit any one of the routers, there's a lot more. I'm going to back out. You can see in the Athens area, there's a lot of these as well. And again, I'm going to show all the nodes. There's a ton of people that have Meshtastic nodes. So it's very, very successful. But if any one of these people wants to get out, like out of the country or to another part of the country in emergency, without ham radio, they're not going to get further than the local nodes. That's where we can help. Okay, let's see if I can give a quick demo. Let's go back to this slide. And if a computer has both the Meshtastic link on it and a ham radio link on the same screen, we can now copy from one and paste into the other. So let me just show you how we can go about doing that. Okay, this is the screenshot for the Meshtastic node. It doesn't require internet. It's just, in this particular one, has got a serial connection. My node is called Mike 84MC, but my node is called Mike. It's on my desk right in front of me. And this is the screen for that. And again, it's serial only, no radio connection. All right, there's interesting, with Meshtastic, they have a broadcast, it's not a channel, but a broadcast node where anybody can send messages to anybody. And there's a lot of banter and nonsense that goes with that. And if there's a storm or something, they send interesting things. So right now we just got 6 messages. If I just acknowledge that, that goes away. So they can do that. And interestingly, to me anyways, all messages are encrypted. This broadcast, anybody can pick it up, and it is encrypted, but it's an open encryption. Everybody knows the encryption code. So even though it is encrypted, everybody can do it. The node like Mike, if people see that I'm there, they can send a message to Mike, and only Mike can read it. So nobody else can open it. So it is encrypted and limited to the person that it was sent to. Okay. Oh, look, there's a new message here. This one just popped up and it's from this node. So I'm going to bring this a little smaller now, make that small. And on my screen, I've also got three WinLink frames open. But here's the one, and it's from this guy here. And let me just read it. If you can't, it might be small for you to read it, but it comes from Belly Bubby Jr. Can you imagine trying to type that without errors? Mike, please let my father, Belly Bubby Sr., know that my family and I are safe in a Red Cross shelter in Atlanta. His email is demo. Thanks, Belly Bubby Jr. Okay, well, here's the message screen from WinLink. So instead of typing, I can just paste, and I'm going to go, it's going to Belly Bubby Senior right here. So I'm going to copy, and I can paste that right here. That's who I'm sending to, comma. And it's coming from Belly Bubby Jr. Copy that, and I'll paste it right here. And I'm going to do some quick typing here. So this will save time from typing. Okay, cut and paste. So this would be the message that I've typed. And since this is a demo, I'm going to add a little more text. Okay, I put that here. So this is just a demo. So this is how I simply copied and pasted the tough things like the names. I've got the address in there. I'm going to post that to my outbox. And now I'm going to try and actually send that. Let's see if I can get that out. Sometimes it takes a few tries to connect. Connected right away. You may not be able to see this, but I just connected to a station that's 820 miles away from me. So I'm going to be sending that email via a CMS station. CMS is a common message server on WinLink. So that message is going from me to a ham radio station 820 miles away who does have internet connectivity. So locally, we've lost cell phone, we've lost internet, we have nothing. There are many of these CMS stations close to us, but if we had a tornado or hurricane, if we don't have cell phone and internet, the local stations don't either. So this is sending, you can see it sending here. So my goal is to go to stations at least a few hundred miles away that hopefully do have internet. And again, this one is 820 miles away. Now I've got an outbox here. I don't know if you saw it, that was at a 1 and now it went to 0. So that means that that message was sent and it did go out. Now the messages don't necessarily go as fast as email, but they do go out in a little while. One of the things you can do when you do have internet, and I do this fairly regularly, is you can download a list of all the stations with a probability of reaching them, and that goes from green to not able to. And what I do is I test them and I save them, and I have a listing of the stations that I've successfully connected to. So in an emergency, you can't do this during the emergency because you don't have the internet connection to do the download, but I've pre-tested it. And if I couldn't get to this guy, I would try many others to get through. You may not know him, N5TW, he's in Texas. You may want to look him up on QRZ. You'll find he's got quite a setup, nice picture there. Well, if you check your email right now, hopefully you've got a message from Billy Bob or from me, and you are Billy Bob Sr. That's who I sent it to. And hopefully you've got that. Let me see if I've got it here too. Inbox. There it is. So you should have this on your cell phone. This message should be on your cell phone. So the demo was NFARL at groups.io. I cheated a little bit by sending it that way. But every one of you should have received this message. And to me, it's a great demo or a great example of saying how we've lost cell phone and internet coverage in the immediate area. And I was able by RF to send this email over 800 miles away to a station that did have internet, put it on the automatically, there was no manual interface there, automatically went on the interface and to email. And the person receiving it doesn't know that it was coming from a ham radio operator. And that person can reply, and I could go back and download that message and give a reply back to Billy Bubby Jr. So that's quite a ways to me. It's a good way that ham radio can team up with Meshtastic. Let me see if I can show that one more time. So how ham radio can team up with Meshtastic, and when all else fails, we can get the message, health and welfare messages to family, loved ones, and friends. So with that, I'm going to stop the presenting. And if I stop presenting, I could put my camera back on. I can bring this back here. And if there's any questions, I could answer them for you now.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
So as operators, we cannot, as registered, we cannot be encrypted, correct? We can.
We are not encrypted. Meshtastic is encrypted, but that's fully legal. It's unlicensed, unregistered, and they are able to do that. What I do like about the encryption is that they can send the message to Mike, not on the broadcast where everybody could see it, and they don't want to have names and maybe addresses or personal information. But if they send it to Mike, it is encrypted when it comes to Mike. When I send it on WinLink, it's not encrypted, but pretty hard for somebody to break into that. So if that was your question, the encryption is on Meshtastic. It's not on ham radio.
Yeah, that was the question. And you'd have to be really looking for stuff at WinLink or whatever. But there was something mentioned where we could not, as ham radio operators, we cannot have something registered in our name, you or me, and encrypted. You register under a different name or not your call sign.
Well, we're not transmitting it. The only encrypted information that we're sending is on Meshtastic. We're not sending anything encrypted on ham radio.
Yeah, there is a ham radio mode that you can use, and you have much higher power levels that you can use. But when you do that, you can't interact with the normal Meshtastic because encryption is not allowed when you're in ham mode.
Yeah, when you're doing that, you're not communicating with any of the Meshtastic users. So it's essentially a 900 megahertz ham radio system. So the whole purpose of this particular presentation is not to say Meshtastic is good or bad or anything, but no matter how good it is, it's limited to local, and the ham radio community can get the local message out to the rest of the world for health and welfare. So that's something we can do.
There's also one thing, the map you see on the Mountain Mesh website, there are a lot more nodes than what show up on their website because not all the nodes, like this node is configured as mute. So he does, although it'll relay message and do stuff, it doesn't show up on the map. And the vast majority of the nodes don't show up on the map. So there's way more nodes than are shown there.
Yep. Mine does not show up.
I have a question.
Yes.
I had a question about the hop counts. How is that maintained? I guess every time the message gets routed or retransmitted, I guess the hop count increases until it hits 7.
It actually decrements. So each, when it sends out, let's say you have the option to set it from 1 to 7. So let's say you set it at 7. They ask you locally not to set it for more than 6, but that's a whole separate issue. So anyways, when it's transmitted, the receiver says, all right, it was allowed to be 6. I have it. I'm going to now digipede it with the number 5. And the next station gets it and receives it and digipeats it with the number 4. And once it gets to 0, it doesn't get digipeated anymore. So the hops are defined by the sending station, how many hops it will allow. And each time it gets hopped, it gets decremented by 1.
So each station, right, they decrement the hops. Here's my question on that. Oh, it'll
Yes.
go to multiple stations, right? So you send the message out with a hop count of 5. 14 different, right, Meshtastic nodes may intercept that or take that and relay it on their own. So each
well,
one
they-
decrements it. Their own.
The algorithm tries to have it, I don't know, Keith, maybe you can answer that in more detail. It can go out and it's broadcast and it floods out, but each receiving station decrements it by 1 when it resends it.
And I guess each message has a sequence number because it seems like you can receive the same message from different transceivers, right? So you only want to process it once.
The algorithm tends to take care of all that. I don't know how the algorithm works, but it tends to go from 1 to 1 to 1.
If you get on the Mountain Mesh Discord, there's one of the developers, Vid, is on there. He's the one who does the special configs, firmwares for things like Dalton Hamfest, DEF CON, Dragon Con. He does special firmware versions just for those events so they can have as many nodes as they have, because they'll have like 10,000 nodes in a very small area.
Hey, Mike, Jeff Garber's here in the room. Had a question. This is really interesting, cool stuff. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm wondering if there's been any effort to try to maybe get schools involved, high schools, maybe middle schools, to sort of flesh out the mesh, so to speak. It seems like, given the pretty low cost of installing a node, that if there was maybe some community-provided curriculum that, a STEM group or STEM teachers or whatever at a middle school or high school could bring up a node and let the kids participate in that in some way, presumably with adult supervision, that all of a sudden, because I think those schools are kind of evenly spaced out, right, just to provide coverage in their neighborhoods. I wonder if, are you aware of any effort to get schools involved in the node? Seems like maybe you get a hold of Fulton County Schools, Cobb County Schools or whatever and say, hey, we're got a little bit of funding here, here's 20 of these, who wants to put them in the schools?
I think it's a great idea. I am not aware of it happening yet. But that would be very similar to like setting up a subdivision. If you set up a school or the families of the students, it's really the same scenario. So the object is to get groups together that use Meshtastic for fun. And then in emergency, the ham radio guys can help get the health and welfare messages from that group out. So anytime you get a group set up, the more groups, the better. But I am not aware of a particular program for that.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Are there, I just started using Meshtastic and MeshCore, and it would be great to have some way to kind of practice, like how POTA gives you practice with your ham radio. Like, is there anything like QSO parties or anything like that where you can actually get like real world practice with like off grid? Because one of my main concerns with Meshtastic is that a lot of folks use MQTT, and I wanted to see like how can I really test it out like in an off grid kind of situation.
Okay, well, for people, the MQTT is when you allow it to go onto the internet, and you can have very long ranges with that. I don't use that, and to me, that's not what I'm particularly interested in, because I'm looking for the emergency support. I'm with the ARES group, Emergency Communications. But for practice, and again, Keith may know this, there are several Discord groups. So you could join a group and they may have the workshops for practicing that you would want to do. And maybe for practice, you would use the MQTT, the internet to get longer ranges out of that. But I think if you just did a Google search on Meshtastic and Discord, you're going to find many groups. I know there's a groups.io, so Meshtastic, and GARS has it, and Georgia ARES. So almost any search on Meshtastic and Discord, DISCORD, should be able to help you get together with people that want to practice. So I think there's lots of communities working on this. I'm not familiar with them personally, but I think there's a lot of communities working on this.
All the mesh groups here, there's two major ones here in Georgia. There's a Georgia-wide one and there's Mountain Mesh. They all have tables at all the ham fests. So they were at the recent Tech Fest that Gwinnett put on. They were there. They were at the last Ham Fest. They were at Dalton. So yeah, they're there. You can go talk to them. And they always have a mesh running. If you take a device with you, there's a mesh running at the event. So you can actually chat between people at the event.
Cool, got it, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's.
Well, good luck with that.
We've got another presentation coming up. And Mike, this is by far the best mesh presentation I've heard. My compliments, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hotel Sierra, SM60 by for you only, over.